move on to a team that the Pacers already eliminated. That is the New York Knicks. The Knicks have fired their head coach, Tom Thibodeau, a move that I predicted would happen on this show on Monday. That it was going to happen because I just know the way of the Tibbs. I'm not a hater. Some people think I'm a Tibbs hater. I love Tibbs. Tibbs has given me the second best joy as a Bulls fan outside of obviously the GOAT, the Zen Master himself. He brought the Bulls to respectability. They made the playoffs, and every year that he was there as the head coach, and even took us to an East Conference Final, someplace that we didn't go after Jordan, and a place that we ain't been since Tibbs has left. But I always feel like there's a certain place that Tibbs can get you. Like there's only a place that he can get you there, and he's a kind of a stopgap coach. He can rebuild your program, make your team respectable, and even take you to a conference finals. You know what I'm saying? The Knicks haven't been this far since fucking Bush has got elected, the second one. So, but I think to me here, first of all, I think the Knicks made the right move. I just want to get that out there. I feel like there was a lot of mixed reactions on Twitter when this was announced. I think it was a smart move, depending on who they hired, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But I also think Knicks fans got to come to the cold reality. I just don't think this is a championship roster at the same time. So I think it's a mix of Tibbs' stubbornness and also a mix that this just isn't a championship roster, and they're going to need a lot more from their players, including Jalen Brunson. I know can't say anything about Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson is a very ball-dominant point guard. He's got to be, more willing to be more than that. He's got to defend way better. Cat has got to do so much better defensively. It's god awful, and you're gonna need more from your others as well. So they need more. But I do feel like this is a step in the right direction, pending who they hire. Bang, what's your thoughts on Tibb getting fired, and who would you like to see be the next head coach?
I was surprised, but not shocked. I was surprised that, especially even before the finals are over with, that you made this move. I was shocked at the timing of it. Surprised of the timing, but I wasn't shocked. I think Tibbs is a great coach, but he's one of those coaches that's only going to get you to a certain level. I do believe that this is a championship roster. If the Indiana Pacers are in the finals right now, that's a championship roster. I just believe that in a lot of these cases that we've seen, like let's look at the Bulls for an example. The Bulls let go of Doug Collins and they get Phil Jackson, and a year afterwards they go to the finals 3 straight years in a row and they win, and they go to 6 and 8 years. Look at the Los Angeles Lakers. They let go of Paul Westphal, and Pat Riley, and then you got the Showtime Lakers. You got a number of examples like this. Yes, it does depend on who the hire is. I don't feel like this needs to be a high profile hire. I don't think they need to just go out and get Mike Malone and stuff like that. And part of that reason is because when you look at some of the better coaches in the league right now, outside of Rick Carlisle, when you look at some of those people that thought that they were going to take people over the hump and everything, they fire them and they go get their young assistant. So I know that the Knicks used to have Johnny Bryant as their associate head coach, and he was a finalist for the Phoenix Suns position. Could they go for a young assistant and somebody who knows these players? They did. They did request, or reportedly will request permission to interview Jason Kidd. I don't know about that unless you're trying to go get Giannis. So it really depends on the Giannis situation, if you want to be honest. But I think that this is a roster that could compete for a title. You just have to have the right coach and the right culture in order to get that done.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up Johnny Bryant. That was a name that came out, like you just said. Mike Malone, to me, I understand people say, "Oh, well, he's like Tibbs." Yeah, to an extent, I believe he is, and we can also debate about how many times Mike Malone's decisions got bailed out because he had a potentially top 10 player of all time on his team, and we saw how far the Nuggets got this year with a depleted roster and without Mike Malone. So, just with Adelman's, first couple months on the job. So you can have that. I don't like the Jason Kidd thing, but according to Brian Windhorst, the Jason Kidd news stuff is very loud, very loud. You got to look at who runs the Knicks, Leon Rose, World Wide West. They're real cool with Jason Kidd. I don't know about the Giannis thing. I feel like for them to get Giannis, they'd have to give up a shit ton because the Bucks don't have their first round pick in the next couple years. So I don't know if Giannis thing. We heard that the Knicks actually did submit a trade request for Kevin Durant at the deadline. They got turned down by the Phoenix Suns. So I don't know. But I think that to me, if you're looking at all of them, bang, I'm kind of with you. I might go with Johnny Bryant, like honestly, because Mike Malone might be in the same Tibbs tier, and I'm just not a fan of Jason Kidd as a coach. Jason Kidd is one of my favorite players of all time. But as a coach, I'm not the biggest Jason Kidd fan. But this, and I'll say this before I go to you, Dante. To me, we've seen this conversation in Chicago sports. If you hire a good coach or a great coach, you got to make sure the replacement is great. Firing Tibbs for the Bulls was the right move. Replacing him with Fred Hoiberg was not. Firing Lovie Smith was a good move. Replacing Mark Trestman was not. And on and on again, Ozzie again, Robin Ventura. So they gotta actually nail that down. Dante, how do you see this firing, and where do you think they should go next?
I mean, it's always a matter of time with Tibbs. We've kind of seen like Jeff T said, his offense hasn't adjusted. It's really more so y'all do your thing, and that has led to some issues for them. I think the overall theme for the Knicks has been you haven't had a full rotation. I know he has started to extend it a bit during that series, but I think overall, when you rely so heavily on your superstars, that starts to weigh on players, and I think. I saw somebody, I think this is just more so a theory. They were like, well, what if they fired him because they know a superstar is not going to come play for him and play all those minutes? That's something I think about. But I think more than anything, if you're the Knicks, you're used to making big splashes. And now that you're, back in the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time, like I said, 2 decades, it seems like a harsh move, but it's one of those things where, similar to what the Denver Nuggets did, you kind of want to rip off the Band-Aid as opposed to, God forbid, we bring them back and then we go on another run next year and then we don't get over the mountaintop and we're still sitting here saying, well, damn, that just makes his case stronger to stay and keep the job. So I think with the Knicks, if you don't like what you're seeing, you make the move, which they did. I think it makes sense. And now as far as who they hire, I'm not sure, but it's one of those situations where if you're about to, shake that roster up again, because I forgot what they did in the Mikal Bridges trade, but I don't know how many picks the Knicks got.
5 first-round picks or something?
Yeah, so I don't know what they
5
got.
first-round picks, like he was fucking LeBron. It was ridiculous.
It's a crazy thing. It was definitely a win now move, but it was still strange. So I don't know what you do, but if you're willing to shake that roster up again for the sake of, like you said, bringing a Giannis or somebody else who's disgruntled and wants to come to New York, that's cool. But you got to get the hire right, because at this point, even if you keep the same roster, you went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you got outplayed, and a lot of times your offense sputtered because it was simply just Jalen Brunson's going to dribble for 17 seconds, and we see what happens. So you get somebody in there, do something a little different, I think things can change. So I'm not sure who, but I'm not surprised they let go of Tibbs.
Yeah, man, Tibbs is probably gonna be on ESPN soon. And that's usually how it goes, unless he, younger team,
coaching some
wants to
college
pick him
thing,
up.
coaching
I
like
can't see
University
him
of West
coaching the
Virginia or
college
some
thing.
shit.
I feel like
He'll be
loses
coaching
my
like
coach.
University of West Virginia or some shit.
Catch I'm Not Gonna Hold You, hosted by Scott Lewis, every Monday and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, only on HMB Media and the Barber's Chair Network.